Discover the incredible secret, the handsome billionaire hidden behind the poor mechanic's life. Jake's hands were stained with grease, a badge of honor for the 30-year-old mechanic who poured his heart into every car he touched. In the small Midwestern town where he lived and worked, he was the go-to guy for repairs, reliable as the morning sun. But amidst the hum of engines and the scent of motor oil, a heavier burden weighed on his heart. His father, a once proud war veteran, now struggled against the relentless tide of aging. Each tale of valor shared over a simple dinner felt like a reminder of battles Jake was losing, not against machines, but against mounting bills, against despair, against the nagging feeling that the brighter side of the American dream was slipping through his fingers. The annual summer fair began to loom on the horizon, its excitement palpable in the air. Corn dogs sizzled, and the smell of homemade pies wafted through town, bringing children and families together. But Jake felt a knot of anxiety tightening with each day. The fair felt like a distant light, taunting him as he watched others sparkle with happiness. He worried if he could keep his family afloat as debt and medical bills loomed threateningly. One chilly afternoon, a new face appeared in town: Alex. He rolled in with an old truck that looked like it had seen better days. Jake welcomed him into the garage, noticing the tension beneath Alex's smooth demeanor. They exchanged nods, and what started as a simple repair turned into conversations that felt more genuine than any Jake had had in a long time. Alex shared stories of his own struggles, and in those moments, Jake found himself opening up, too, revealing the weight of his responsibilities. Little did Jake know, the man before him was a billionaire, a truth hidden behind a wall of humility. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As weeks turned into months, Jake's worries escalated. His father's health dwindled, each visit to the hospital making both men feel smaller, more vulnerable. Watching the once maverick spirit of his dad struggle with the fragility of life tore at Jake's heart. He felt like he was drowning as debt piled high. But amidst this storm, Alex had become a lifeline, a friend who offered support without pretense, and Jake clung to that connection. Then the crisis hit, an emergency that sent Jake's heart racing as the hospital bills multiplied overnight. In that moment of despair, Alex approached, offering help without revealing the full extent of his resources. Could Jake trust a man so shrouded in mystery? Just as the festering doubt began to bloom, Jake sensed something deeper beneath Alex's calm resolve, a truth waiting to unfurl, and just like that, revelations crashed like fireworks in the night. The storm of emotions within Jake swirled, battling against the values he was taught: hard work over handouts, pride over pity. As fear struck his heart, he found himself face to face with a choice that could alter the course of his story forever. Would he rise above the skepticism the town harbored toward wealth and friendship? Would he dare to embrace the truth of Alex, illuminated in a moment of raw honesty before an unforgiving crowd? As whispers crescendoed around him, Jake would realize that where the world saw disparity, perhaps he might find the ties that truly bind us all: the shared fight for a better tomorrow. Jake stood there, the world around him blurring. The hospital room felt suffocating, walls closing in like a vice as Alex's offer echoed in his mind. He'd always been someone who believed in hard work, who felt the weight of every penny earned. Accepting help, especially from someone like Alex, triggered a whirlwind of emotions: shame, guilt, confusion. Alex met his gaze, his expression steady and sincere. "You don't have to make this decision alone, Jake. I get it. Asking for help isn't a sign of weakness. It's okay to lean on someone when times are tough." Jake felt a flicker of hope. But lurking beneath the surface was a darker current of hesitation. Trust felt like a fragile thing, one that could shatter at any moment. His father, strong and stoic even in his frailty, would never allow such a lifeline. Jake could almost hear him grumbling about pride and the value of self-sufficiency, but the truth was there in the hospital room, stark and undeniable. Bills were piling up faster than he could comprehend, and Jake's hands were tied. This wasn't just about him anymore, it was about his father, the man who fought through war and hardship. Let me help you. It's what friends do, Alex's voice broke through Jake's spiraling thoughts. The word friend sparked another wave of emotion in Jake. He thought back to the shared moments in the garage, laughter cutting through the stress of their lives. Alex's silent support in those moments had eased some of Jake's burdens, and there was a warmth in their bond that he hadn't realized until now. He sighed, tension leaving his shoulders as he leaned against the wall. I don't know, Alex. It just feels wrong to accept money from someone I barely know. Do you see me as a stranger? Alex's question hung between them. Jake's response laid heavy in his throat. He did feel a connection, one that was built on shared struggles rather than the wealth that distanced others. This was a man who understood the grit of life, as he did, who offered friendship without judgment. Suddenly, it didn't feel too foreign, a hand reaching into the darkness instead of withholding it. Maybe, Jake began hesitantly, maybe you could come to the fair with me next week? Just meet my family. See why this means so much. A smile broke through Alex's serious demeanor now, the warmth transforming the atmosphere. I'd love that. As the days slipped by, anticipation mingled with the undercurrent of dread. Jake prepared himself for the fair with a mix of excitement and anxiety. The night before, he couldn't sleep, tossing and turning. He thought about the risk of inviting Alex into his life and the potential backlash from the townspeople, gossips eager to spin narratives from threads of uncertainty. But he also thought of the possible joys, the laughter, the fun, and the chance to share something beautiful amidst the chaos. The day of the fair arrived bright and warm, a kaleidoscope of colors and sounds vibrant against the backdrop of his life's dark clouds. Jake's father, weary but determined, watched from a bench, eyes shining with affection and some relief. There was Alex, looking confident yet unpretentious, a buoy in sea of uncertainty. The instant their eyes met, Jake felt a spark, one that promised friendship, brotherhood, and perhaps even a new chapter. But as they began to navigate the crowded fair, a familiar face appeared, a reminder of the secrets he had yet to expose. The weight of their realities loomed in the distance, and the moment the townspeople caught sight of Alex, whispers erupted like firecrackers in the night sky. What would they say? What would Alex think? This was just the beginning, and Jake's heart raced, knowing the truth would eventually come out. Could friendship withstand scrutiny, or would Jake find himself alone and judged once again? As the echoes of laughter faded into the air, a storm brewed just beyond the horizon. Jake's gut twisted at the first glance of familiar faces, the worried frowns and astonished looks that swept through the crowd like a cold wind. It was as if the air had thickened, every breath he took weighed down by tension. He felt a chill that had nothing to do with the warmth of the sunny day. Is that? One voice trailed off, eyes darting back to Alex. Nah, it can't be him, another replied with an edge of disbelief. The whispers crept closer, wrapping around Jake like a suffocating blanket. He could feel Alex's gaze on him, a mix of confusion and concern, and Jake's heart sank lower. For years, he'd held tightly to his pride, refusing to let anyone see any cracks in his armor, yet here he was, staring down the judgment of a town that thrived on gossip. Jake? Alex said, taking a step forward, a playful smile lingering on his lips. What's the matter? You look like you've seen a ghost. Let us keep moving, Jake managed to mumble, his voice barely above a whisper. He urged Alex deeper into the fair, away from piercing stares and the buzzing chatter that grew louder with every step they took. In each passing moment, Jake felt like he was dragging Alex into a nest of vipers, and there was no turning back. As they walked past booths adorned with bright ribbons and balloons, the vibrant colors blurred into a haze. Jake's heart raced, not from excitement, but from fear. What would happen when they confronted the whispered suspicions and inevitable questions? Would his friendship with Alex survive the storm brewing around them? Hey, Alex said, softly nudging him as they arrived at a jar of caramel apples. What's going on? You're scaring me a bit. The soft warmth of his voice cut through the chaos of Jake's mind. Sliding his hands into his pockets, Jake took a breath. It's just, this is my hometown. People talk. They see you and me together, and he hesitated, the words feeling heavy. They don't know you. They'll have their own ideas. I'm not worried about them. I'm worried about you, Alex replied, sincerity etched on his face. You invited me here to be part of your life, right? Let us show them that. A flicker of hope ignited, but Jake extinguished it with the harsh realities swirling in his mind. Standing on that thin line between wanting to feel accepted and fearing the consequences began to fray the edges of his resolve. You don't understand. They see a good-looking guy like you and think you're different. Not one of us. And you think they'll judge me because of that? Because I might have a little more money than they do? The edge in Alex's voice hardened slightly. It was the first hint of vulnerability he had shown, and it cut straight through Jake's defenses. No, it's because they'll know you could do better. That you might be here out of pity, out of some sense of obligation. I can't let them hurt you. Before Alex could respond, a loud laugh rang out from a nearby booth, drawing their attention. It was Phil, Jake's old friend, tugging at the sleeves of his shirt, eyes sparkling with mischief. Hey, Jake. Who's your friend? Looking sharp there, man. Phil's voice boomed, checking Alex from head to toe. Jake could feel the world closing in again, the weight of his secret, of who he was, crashing into him like a wave. He saw Alex stiffen beside him, unsure whether to smile or retreat. It was a moment suspended in time, brimming with tension and uncertainty. The crowd began to swirl around them, and Jake felt the pressure mount. What would Phil say? What would others think? Jake, man. You just let this guy come into the fair. He looks like he's planning a conquest. Phil grinned, and the laughter that followed felt like nails scratching down Jake's spine. This isn't what I wanted, Jake whispered to himself, feeling the shroud of panic close in. Jake's heart raced anew, but this time it was less about fear and more about resolve. He had already walked through the fire, and he refused to let the ashes define him. And as he steeled himself to step forward into the unknown, he felt Alex at his side, a solid presence amidst the storm. A friend ready to face whatever came next. What lay ahead felt like a greater test than he could imagine. Would he let Alex in, or would the townsfolk keep their hold over him? As they squared off against judgment and whispers, Jake's pulse quickened. Just as the sounds of the fair faded into a distant hum, a realization settled deep in his chest. Would he finally embrace the friendship that was blooming, or would he shield himself from the very thing that could change everything? The moment hung heavy in the air, brimming with the weight of choice. Jake took a deep breath, his heart pounding in his ears, and squared his shoulders. He was dangerously close to retreating into the safety of silence, but Alex deserved more than that. He needed to show him he was worth fighting for. Phil, Jake finally managed, his voice steadier than he felt. This is Alex. My friend. The word friend sounded simple, yet it felt monumental, like lifting a weight off his chest he didn't even know he was carrying. Phil raised an eyebrow, feigning surprise. Friend, huh? You're not selling him to me, are you? I thought you had better taste. He laughed again, but Jake could sense the quickening pulse of judgment behind Phil's casual tone. Cut it out, Jake replied, trying to toss a playful edge into his response. You know I don't do blind dates. Alex chuckled, confusion mingled with a slight unease. Nice to meet you, Phil, he said, extending a hand. The grip was firm, confident. It was one of those small moments that made Jake's heart swell with pride. How Alex wasn't shying away, even if the fiery eyes of the crowd bore into them. Phil's laughter dropped a notch, his expression shifting as he assessed Alex. For a fleeting moment, Jake thought he saw a hint of acceptance there, buried deep beneath layers of prejudice and small-town skepticism. But the moment passed as quickly as it came. So, what brings you to our little slice of heaven? Phil asked, his tone teasing but also probing, as if he were trying to gauge the details of Alex's life that Jake had kept hidden. Jake's stomach churned. This was the moment where judgments crystallized, and he hoped Alex wouldn't feel the slingshot of scrutiny. I came to check out the fair and visit Jake, Alex replied, his tone casual but unwavering. It seemed like fun. What a surprise. Phil shot back, his voice dripped sarcasm. The billionaire coming to mingle with us common folk. A few nearby listeners caught that comment, their chatter fading into whispers. The tide had shifted, and Jake felt the electric shift in the atmosphere like a crack of thunder. The crowd watched, half curious, half skeptical, waiting to see how this would play out. "Not like that," Alex retorted, a flush creeping up his neck. "I'm not here to throw my weight around. I just want to enjoy the day." Jake wanted to reach out, to tell Alex to ignore the daggers coming their way. But he stood frozen, a silent witness to the conflict rising both within him and around them. The laughter and teasing turned ugly quickly. A few jeers filled the air, mixing with rising murmurs. "He's just slumming it, huh? He thinks he can be one of us." Those words hit Jake like stones. "Enough!" he shouted, feeling anger wash over him, igniting the nerves he thought he could keep hidden. "Stop it. He's my friend. How dare you say things like that?" The crowd shifted in surprise, eyes wide as they absorbed the unexpected outburst. Jake glared at Phil, feeling that old fear wash away, replaced by something warm, the need to protect Alex. As silence fell heavily in the air, Jake turned to look at Alex, who met his gaze with an expression that bridged gratitude and concern. "What now?" Alex asked softly, his voice edged with apprehension. "Now?" Jake replied, swallowing hard. "We stand together." For the first time, Jake felt a surge of hope, the kind that burned fiercely like the bright lights of the fair around them. Maybe standing together was the answer, the illumination they both needed against the shadow of judgment. But just as he felt the tide turning in their favor, a familiar figure emerged from the crowd, the one person Jake never expected to see, his mother. The joy and hope he'd just discovered began to fray. Would this be the episode that broke him, or the one that transformed everything? As she approached with narrowed eyes, the weight of 1,000 unspoken words loomed large. Jake's entire body went cold as he watched his mother's approach. She moved with a purpose, her lips tight and her posture tense. The ugly tension in the air became a fog in his mind, threatening to choke off his rational thoughts completely. "Jake," she said, her voice cutting through the murmurs around them like a knife. "What are you doing here?" "Mom," he managed, his throat suddenly dry. I just wanted to enjoy the fair." "You're hanging out with him?" she snapped, her gaze shooting to Alex. "Do you realize what people will think?" "I don't care what people think," Jake yelled, surprising even himself. "Can't you see that? This is Alex. He's my friend." The word felt more powerful than he had intended, charging the air between them. "Friend?" she scoffed, disbelief dripping from her tone. "You don't even know what that means, Jake. He's a billionaire, for God's sake. What makes you think he wants anything to do with you or this town?" "Mom, don't." His heart raced. "You don't know him. You don't know anything about us." Alex stood to the side, his expression a mix of surprise and concern. Jake could sense him grappling with the hostility that was spilling over from the crowd and now from his own mother. "That's right." A voice suddenly chimed in from the crowd. It was Phil again, stoking the fire. "Don't you get it, Jake? You're a nobody to him. Just a charity case for the rich guy." Laughter echoed, a harsh reminder of the judgment that always loomed over them. Jake turned to face the crowd, his pulse roaring in his ears. "You don't know anything about either of us," he shouted, the frustration spilling out like a broken dam. "Alex is not just some label you can stick on him. And I'm not ashamed of my life." His mother's features hardened, her eyes glistening with anger and something else, something softer that she wouldn't allow to surface. "And what will that get you, Jake? A broken heart?" "I'm not afraid of a broken heart," he shot back, feeling the weight of the crowd's energy shift once again, now tinged with confusion and uncertainty. "I just want a chance to be happy. Don't you want that for me?" There was a brief silence, the tension thick enough to cut with a knife. Jake could see the flicker of hesitation in his mother's eyes. It was almost as if she was struggling between the love for her son and the fear that had always dominated her thoughts. "Mom," he said gently, his voice softening, "it's not just about labels. This is real. I don't want to hide anymore. Not from you, not from anyone. Can't you just see that?" She hesitated, the gears in her mind visibly turning. Jake felt himself holding his breath, desperate for a glimpse of understanding. But all that met him was a wall. "Jake," she finally said, her voice trembling with a blend of frustration and disbelief, "you're playing with fire." His heart sank, but before he could respond, Alex stepped forward, brave and resilient. "I came here to get to know Jake, not to draw lines between us," he declared firmly, his eyes locking onto Jake's mother. "I hope you can see that." Jake held his breath, caught in limbo between fear and hope, as the weight of the moment pulsed around them. The crowd's whispers became a dull roar, and he longed for something to give, as the resolution danced just out of reach. But what will Jake's mother choose? Will she support him or push him away? The answer hung in the air like a fragile promise waiting to be broken. The silence held like an unwelcome guest. Jake could feel every eye on him, the weight of their judgments pressing down even harder now. His mother stared at Alex, her mouth slightly agape as if searching for words that would set everything right. "What do you know about my son?" she finally asked, the sharpness returning to her voice. "What do you really see when you look at him?" Jake clenched his fists, wishing he could shield Alex from her words. "Mom, stop it!" he exclaimed. "You're not even trying to understand." "I'm protecting you," she snapped back, but for the first time, doubt flickered across her face. Alex stepped forward, calm yet unwavering. "I see a strong, kind person who doesn't care about wealth or status. That's all that matters to me," he replied, his eyes searching for Jake's. "I came here to be with him. Honestly." Jake's heart surged at those words. "See? You heard him. This isn't about money or labels. It's about who we are. You think you know him?" she shot back. "This isn't some game, Jake. He'll move on once he gets bored. I've seen it happen too many times. Rich guys don't stay." The crowd quieted again, breaths held in anticipation. Jake felt heat rising in his cheeks. He wanted to shout but instead felt a flicker of doubt from deep within. What if she was right? But before he could spiral, Alex's voice broke through. "No one can predict the future. All we can do is take a step forward and see where it leads." "I'm not going anywhere, Jake," he said, and the warmth in his words washed over Jake like sunlight breaking through clouds. "Mom, please," Jake pleaded. "You know me. You know I'm not just gonna follow him around like a lost puppy. This is real for me." For long seconds, neither of them spoke. Jake barely dared to breathe. He glimpsed Alex's determination reflected in the surrounding faces, friends, foes, onlookers, and felt courage swell inside him. At last, his mother's expression softened, if only slightly, but the tension in her gaze lingered. It was a battle love against fear. "I just don't want you to get hurt," she admitted, her voice cracking. "I appreciate that, Mom, I really do," Jake said, choosing his words carefully. "But sometimes love is worth the risk." A silence fell again, this time heavy with contemplation rather than confrontation. The crowd shifted, whispers morphing into something more akin to curiosity. Then Phil jolted them back. "What's next, Jake? Are you planning a life in the castle?" His laughter cut through the moment, snapping everyone back to harsh reality. "No," Jake retorted, anger flaring once more. "What's next is my choice. This is my life, not yours, Phil." His mother's gaze darted between him and Alex, which felt like more of a cage than a haven. She turned her back slightly, as if willing away the reality forming in front of her. "Think this through, Jake. It's not too late to walk away," she warned, hope and fear entwined in her voice. Jake's heart thundered in his chest. "I've never wanted to walk away from anything more than I want to walk towards this," he finally said, voice resolute. But just as the slightest crack of hope gleamed amidst the shadows, A voice from the crowd broke the moment's tenderness. "Jake, are you sure? When things get tough, are you ready?" Jake turned, caught between the past and what could be. The answer was bubbling in him, but as the familiar doubts prickled at the edges of his resolve, a shudder of uncertainty washed over him. Was he ready to stand firm in the face of all this chaos? Would he have the strength to love and be loved in return, despite the weight of their worlds colliding? The question echoed in his mind like a siren song, haunting and beautiful, as he held on to Alex's hand tighter, determination stringing them together. And as the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows over the fairgrounds, Jake's heart raced at the thought of what tomorrow would bring if he took that leap. What would they create together against all odds? Jake could feel the pressure mounting, both within himself and in the crowd around him. The whispers were growing louder, a buzz of doubt intermingled with curiosity. He glanced at Alex, who stood there, unwavering and authentically himself despite the chaos swirling around them. How could he have found someone so genuine amidst the noise? "Are you ready?" the voice had asked. The question lingered in Jake's mind, mixing with the fear and elation of this moment. He knew the stakes had risen, not just for himself but for all involved. And still, one constant thought struck him harder than any other. He wanted to be brave. He turned back toward his mother, who was now watching him with a weary gaze, as if the weight of her own expectations was becoming too much to bear. "I know you're scared, Mom. But please, just give him a chance," Jake implored, feeling his voice soften. The corners of his mother's lips twitched, almost a smile, almost a frown. "It's not him I'm worried about," she said quietly. "It's you. I've watched you choose all the wrong paths. I don't want to see you hurt again." A spark of frustration ignited within Jake. This isn't one of those paths. Alex is different. I'm different. Can't you see that? In that moment, Jake felt like he was standing at the edge of a cliff, staring into the abyss. He could either leap into uncertainty or retreat back to safety. Alex took a step forward, intertwining his fingers with Jake's, grounding him. "What if it's not that simple?" his mother asked, her voice trembling. "What if this is just another fleeting moment?" Jake's heart sank. Would that be so bad if they managed to create something beautiful before it faded? "All I know is this moment is real," Alex said, his voice steady and full of conviction. "Isn't that what matters?" The crowd watched, a sea of faces, some supportive, others skeptical. But Jake didn't need their approval, he needed his mother's understanding. He opened his mouth to speak but felt the lump creeping back into his throat. It was hard to find the words that could cut through the noise. "Listen, you've had your own dreams, Mom. I want mine too, even if they don't look the way you think they should," he finally managed. "Alex has opened my eyes to a world that doesn't revolve around expectations. This is my time to live freely." The silence that followed was thick, like a heavy blanket. Alex squeezed Jake's hand tighter, his eyes filled with an unwavering resolve. There was a flicker of hope in the air, and Jake grasped it tightly. Then, softly but firmly, his mom replied, "Just promise me you'll keep your heart open. No matter what happens." "I promise. But only if you promise to believe in me." The tension shifted slightly, a glimmer of connection beginning to form. Finally, from the edge of the crowd, Phil chimed in again, his tone dripping with sarcasm. "What a lovely little fairy tale." He laughed, but the energy around him felt less victorious. "I don't care what you think." Jake fired back. "This is my life, not yours to narrate." As the shadows grew longer, Jake felt a determination surge within him. Maybe he was not completely ready for every challenge ahead, but one realization rang clear. Sometimes love is about taking that leap of faith into the unknown. Just then, the loud blast of the fair's closing horn echoed through the grounds, breaking the moment. Whispers of goodbyes and plans filled the air, but Jake stood still, eyes locked on Alex. All the uncertainty of the future bubbled to the surface, and with it, an unexpected thrill. What if they failed? What if they soared? Holding Alex's gaze, he realized one thing: whatever came next, he had to step boldly toward it. The leap was just beginning, and he felt ready. With the sun finally dipping below the horizon, a new thought flashed in Jake's mind, a thought that would challenge everything he and Alex stood for. Did he really know all there was to know about the man he loved? As those swirling doubts and questions filled his head, he realized that some secrets weren't just about revealing truths, they could change everything. What other layers lay hidden beneath their relationship? Jake stood rooted to the spot as the vibrant hues of sunset melted into darkness. The bright lights of the fair flickered on, illuminating the faces of people buzzing with excitement. Yet, inside him, a storm was brewing. He felt as if he were adrift in uncertainty, staring into the depths of his and Alex's relationship. Was it really possible that Alex was hiding something significant? Jake? Alex's voice cut through his thoughts. There was a hint of concern etched on his features. You okay? Jake blinked, forcing a smile to mask his inner turmoil. Yeah, just thinking about everything. He gestured vaguely around, but his mind couldn't escape the idea that shadows lurked beneath their bright connection. Everything's going to be fine, Alex said, but there was an undercurrent of tension in his voice. He looked around, eyes narrowing as if sensing how the night had shifted, and then Phil, ever the disruptor, sauntered over like a gloating specter from a bad novel. What's the matter, lovebirds? Getting cold feet? His smirk was like ice, and the crowd fell silent, turning their attention to the unfolding drama. Jake's heart raced. He wanted to scream that this moment was about him and Alex, not the judgment of Phil or the bystanders. But the words got stuck in his throat. Instead, Jake clenched Alex's hand tighter, needing that connection as his anchor. Leave us alone, Phil. You don't get to dictate what this is, Jake shot back, his voice almost shaky with a mix of anger and fear. Or what it isn't, Phil retorted, leaning in. You really think you know him? You think this is all there is? Just a fairy tale? Jake swallowed hard. Was it possible that Alex wasn't being entirely transparent? The thought felt like a dagger twisting in his gut, but it was overshadowed by his need to stand firm against Phil's taunts. Even if it is a fairy tale, I'm okay with that. I'm willing to take the risk. The words hung in the air. For a heartbeat, the crowd held its breath, and even Phil looked momentarily taken aback. Let me offer you some wisdom, Phil sneered, recovering quickly. Sometimes fairy tales end with a wicked twist. Just remember that. He stepped back, feigning a yawn for effect. Jake darted his gaze to Alex, who looked more uneasy than ever. What was that about? He asked quietly, afraid to voice his creeping suspicions. Don't listen to him. Alex's expression was a mix of anger and frustration. He's just trying to provoke you. But Jake felt the weight of uncertainty pressing down again, heavy like a blanket. But what if there's something I don't know? What if stop? Don't go there, Alex insisted, eyes suddenly blazing with intensity. You know me, Jake. I'm here for you. But was he? The way Phil had laughed, the disbelief in his tone, it echoed in Jake's mind. Trust is about knowing everything, Jake said softly, looking away. Trust is also about believing what you don't see. Alex's voice softened. I've shared so much with you already. Isn't that enough? That's what Jake wanted to believe. He wanted to trust the bond that had formed between them. But what if it wasn't as straightforward as it appeared? Just then, laughter erupted from a group nearby, and fireworks lit up the night sky with brilliant bursts of color. Jake's heart raced with the explosions, each one reminding him of the vibrant connection he had with Alex, yet casting doubt on the shadows lurking behind it all. Let us get some cotton candy or something, Alex said, trying to lift the mood, pulling Jake gently towards the stalls, but Jake's mind was still racing, grappling with his feelings. What could Alex be hiding? The question swirled like smoke in his thoughts, refusing to clear. As they walked, Jake's heart pulsed with anxiety and curiosity. He felt he was standing again at the edge of that cliff. Would he leap into the depths of Alex's secrets or retreat to the safety of the surface? The night was far from over, and the mystery of Alex loomed large as they moved through the bright crowd full of laughter, hopes, and anguish. And as they reached for fluffy, sugary clouds of cotton candy, a new sound pierced through the laughter, a distant whisper of something that could change everything they thought they knew. What secrets lay ahead in the heart of the fair, disguised beneath the sweetness of candy and fireworks? The cotton candy stand shimmered under the electric lights, its bright colors almost magical. But Jake's heart was heavy. As he watched Alex procure 2 big fluffy cones, a knot twisted deeper within him. Alex smiled as he handed one to Jake, but the grin felt forced, like it didn't quite reach his eyes. Something was off. "Here, it's your favorite," Alex said, trying to lighten the mood. But as they began to walk again, Jake could barely taste the sweet sugary goodness. The flavor was lost amid a swirl of doubt and insecurity. They found a spot on a nearby bench, surrounded by the thrum of laughter and lively chatter. Yet, despite the joy around them, Jake felt isolated, a melancholy island in a sea of joy. "What do you think Phil wanted?" Jake asked between bites, forcing himself to break the silence. The hint of concern returned to Alex's face. "I don't know. He's just trying to mess with us," Alex replied, turning his gaze to the vibrant fireworks above. Jake admired the explosive colors, but they only added to the chaos in his mind. "Do you really think he's right? That there is something I don't know?" Jake pressed. He watched Alex closely, searching for signs of dishonesty. Did Alex flinch? Did his jaw clench slightly? "Jake, enough with the doubts," Alex said, tension creeping back into his voice. "I would never hide anything from you." "Then what about the emails?" The words slipped out before Jake could stop them. They talked about Alex's odd late-night texts before, but Jake had been dismissive. Maybe Phil's nattering had finally dug into his subconscious, planting seeds of worry. Alex stiffened. "It's work stuff, Jake. You know how it is. Work at this hour? Come on." Jake felt frustration rising. "You can't blame me for being curious. You haven't opened up about your job. Why is that?" The weight of Alex's silence felt like a barrier between them. The truth was that Jake wasn't just curious. He was terrified. If Alex truly was hiding something, what did that mean for their relationship? What if it was a secret that could change everything? Suddenly, a loud bang drew their attention. More fireworks erupted, illuminating Alex's face. For a brief moment, he looked vulnerable, caught in the light, the shadows of the fair reflecting the anxiety in Jake's heart. "Listen," Alex began, his voice low. "I promise I'll tell you everything. Just not now, okay? Can we enjoy this night?" Jake nodded, but his chest felt heavy. "All right," he managed, though his mind was still spinning. The assurance didn't erase his need for transparency. If they were going to build something real, they both had to be honest. As they sat in silence, Jake's thoughts danced between the exhilaration of fireworks and the dread lurking within. Each sound of the explosion echoed in his mind like a countdown, ticking closer to a revelation he feared. "Look," Alex said suddenly, breaking the silence. "Can we just forget Phil for a moment? Let us go ride the Ferris wheel." His eyes sparkled, attempting to reignite their atmosphere, but Jake hesitated. The Ferris wheel climbed high, but what awaited at the top? Would clarity await him, or more darkness? "I'm not sure," Jake replied slowly, weighing the fear swirling inside him against the thrill of the ride. "Please." Alex's voice softened, and something about his plea pulled at Jake's heart. But would another distraction make things better or simply delay the inevitable? Jake looked into Alex's eyes and saw hope and fear. "Okay," he finally said, a deep breath escaping him. "Let us ride the Ferris wheel." But as they made their way through the crowd, Jake couldn't shake off the feeling that secrets were waiting at the top, ready to come rushing down like a cascade of fireworks in the night. What would he find when they reached the heights of the fair? Would he finally uncover the truth hidden in Alex's shadows, or would this merely lead them to new heights of confusion? The Ferris wheel loomed ahead, its colorful lights twinkling like stars against the darkening sky. As they approached the ride, Jake could feel his heart racing, not from excitement, but from a haunting mixture of fear and anticipation. What awaited them at the top? Once inside the cabin, the ride began its ascent slowly, the gentle rocking feeling almost comforting. Jake listened to the rhythmic whir of the machinery, but it did little to calm the storm inside him. Alex sat beside him, radiating a warmth that both soothed and stirred his worries. As they climbed higher, Jake's eyes flitted nervously to the ground below. The fairground looked like a scene from a fairy tale, filled with laughter, joy, and carefree spirits. But atop this beautiful bustling world, Jake felt as if he were standing on the edge of a precipice. "Look at that view," Alex said, nudging Jake's shoulder and pointing out the sparkling lights below. Jake forced a smile, but his mind was elsewhere. "It's beautiful, yeah," he replied, but the words fell flat. He couldn't shake the feeling that while the festive world glimmered below, shadows lurked above. They reached the pinnacle of the ride, and the cabin swayed gently, a fragile moment suspended in time. "You all right?" Alex asked, his voice cutting through Jake's spiral of thoughts. Jake turned to face him, searching his eyes for clarity. "Yeah," he began. "But I need to talk about something real." Alex's expression shifted, a seriousness emerging as he nodded. "Okay. What's on your mind?" "I can't pretend Phil's comments didn't get to me. I want to know the truth about everything," Jake admitted, his heart hammering in his chest. "I need to know we can build something real together without shadows hiding between us." Alex's expression turned contemplative, leaning back slightly as he gazed over the fairground's twinkling lights. "Jake, I promise I'm not hiding anything malicious. My work is complicated, and it's hard to explain," he said, his tone earnest. "Then just tell me," Jake urged, leaning in closer to Alex's shifting demeanor. "If it's something that could come between us, I want to hear it before it's too late." The silence stretched, and for a fleeting moment, Jake thought he could see a flicker of anxiety behind Alex's steady facade. Finally, Alex took a deep breath and locked eyes with Jake. "I'm more than just a guy with money. I built my company from the ground up, facing doubts and failures along the way. And I made some choices to protect myself," he confessed, his voice steady yet burdened. Jake felt an ache in his heart, realizing this wasn't just about wealth, it was about the journey that paved Alex's path. "What do you mean by choices?" Jake asked cautiously. "I've kept my professional life separate because I didn't want to be defined by my wealth. Over the years, I've had people approach me for all the wrong reasons," Alex said, his hand gently squeezing Jake's. "They see the billionaire and not the man who sweated his way to success. I thought I could avoid complications by not being upfront." "Is that what you think Phil sees?" Jake prodded. "Just the money? Not you? It's tough. The truth is, I can't ignore how the world views me sometimes, and it scares me," Alex admitted, his vulnerability shining through. "But no matter what, I don't want you to ever think I came into your life out of pity or obligation." The honesty hung in the air, and Jake felt a sense of realization washing over him. "So it's not about hiding from me," he murmured, his heart swelling with understanding. "It's about protecting us both from a world that thinks it knows what matters." At that moment, the cabin reached its peak and stopped, the city below flickering like a living mosaic. For the first time, Jake let hope seep into his heart, overshadowing the doubts that had weighed him down. "I see you, Alex," Jake declared, his voice strong. "Not just the labels or the wealth, but the incredible person who has helped me realize my own strength. I'm ready to face the noise with you, together." As the ride began its descent, Alex looked deeply into Jake's eyes, a smile breaking through. "And I want to face whatever comes our way, too. You're worth fighting for, Jake." The ride rattled down, and as they stepped back onto solid ground, the doubt that had clung to Jake like a shadow slipped away. He held Alex's hand tightly, a promise sealed in that moment. Together, they navigated back through the fair, laughter resounding around them, and where once stood fear and uncertainty, now flared a bond forged in understanding and bravery. Jake's mother watched from the sidelines, her expression softening as she took in the two young men, standing tall against the storm. He caught her eye, and for the first time, he saw a glimmer of acceptance there, a faint but beautiful step towards understanding. As the fair wound down, with a final burst of fireworks lighting the sky, Jake knew that this was just the beginning of their journey, not just for him and Alex, but also for the healing of the bonds that made them family. Together, they could create a beautiful narrative that defied the judgments of the world. "Let us show everyone what love looks like," Jake said, feeling a spark of possibility ignite within him. "Absolutely," Alex replied, his voice steady as they moved forward side by side, ready to face whatever the future held, and in that moment, everything felt right. If you've loved this story and can't wait to uncover more incredible transformations, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep the magic coming. And please comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. Finally, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You'll be their favorite storyteller for doing so. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.